Hey, this is Mark Kanty with Release Dynamics. And if you're really wanting to learn how to level up your life, you need to be listening to the Time to Shine Today podcast with my good friend, Scott Ferguson.
Time to Shine Today podcast squad. This is Scott Ferguson, and welcome to episode 101. I have my really good friend, Mark Kanty. He's from north of the border, up in Canada land, and he came on. He is a coach's coach. So if you're a coach and you're looking to really level up your business, level up your clientele, Mark's your go-to guy. He's going to remind you to experience every moment, be very mindful, be empathetic, understand that competition and comparison can really kill your business. So without further ado, here is Mark Kanty from Release Dynamics. Hey, time to shine today, Varsity Squad. It is Scott Ferguson, and we are in kind of coming out here in a lot of parts of the United States as our phase one unleashed during our COVID time. And I have a really good friend of mine that's actually north of the border in the west part of Canada, and he is a coach's coach. So I am very, very excited to share the content with Mark Kanty, or Mark Kanty, as he goes in business. And it just, we had some technical difficulties last week, so this should have been rolled out to you way before, but Mark is so nice and so understanding and so patient. And it's just fantastic to have this conversation with Mark. Mark helps coaches and consultants reconnect with their unique competencies and understand exactly who they are best suited to serve and what that ideal client really wants. He then helps to create the perfect marketing system to deliver on that promise over and over again. Mark's philosophy for business success is quite simple. Be crystal clear on what you want and what you uniquely offer. Then ask the people you want to work with what they want and give it to them. So it's like he builds raving fans out of coaches that are trying to build their own raving fans. So here, without further ado, is Mark Kanty. Mark, please come on and introduce yourself to the Time to Shine Today Varsity Squad. But first, what emoji do you use the most?
Oh, Scott, that's a good one. I love it because that's a great question because I'm always checking in to how it changes from day to day and the mood that I'm in. But I would probably say the laughing one, the laughing with tears one.
The sideways or the up and down?
The up and down, sometimes the sideways. But yeah, I think that's the one I love to use the most. So
awesome,
maybe it
Mark.
just shows a little bit about how I view the world.
Yes, absolutely. And what's your favorite color? I know it's weird, but there's a reason.
No, not at all. It's blue. It would be dark blue.
Dark blue? Why is that?
You know what? It's always resonated with me. I think a big part of it is because I grew up on the water. And I often say that obviously we all have water in our blood. But that, man, if I can't smell the water, if I'm not within distance of the water where I can see it and touch it, I am literally a fish out of water. I can't, I love to visit the desert and the heat But when it comes to living and lifestyle, I got to be on the water.
Beautiful. And you're pretty close there where you are in Canada, true?
I am right on the inner harbor in Victoria, British Columbia.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So give us a little origin story about Mark Kanty, kind of where you started and how you're getting into where you are right now with the Release Dynamics.
Boy, that's a dangerous question with a guy like me, Scott. How much time do we have?
You have like 3.5 minutes. I don't know. Go ahead.
Wow,
I want to hear it. I've been wanting to ask you this, and you've been so patient. So
I'm going to have to talk really fast. So first of all, I'm going to let you off the hook with my last name. I know I dropped that one on you earlier, but just go by Kanty.
Kanty, he's the Mark Kanty. I want to impress Mark a little bit, so I kind of threw it as how it's pronounced. But no, Kanty's awesome. Coach Mark Kanty.
You got it. So Canadian, have traveled around and lived in different parts of the world, actually. But I was born in the city of Toronto, and then my dad quit a corporate job and decided to escape the city and went into the marine business. So we're talking boats and water. So that's where I get it from. So I was raised in a small business environment. Then I went back to the big city, did my degree in marketing, decided I wasn't going to climb the corporate ladder. I went right into business. Matter of fact, I started small businesses from the time I was 17. So I've kind of been really an entrepreneur, small business owner my whole life. I've really never worked for anybody and collected a paycheck, if you will.
Right.
So I grew up in the marine business, and that was one of the biggest life lessons for me early on, in that there was a contraction in the marketplace, spike in gas prices, and both the recreational vehicle industry and the marine industry took a huge hit. We lost about 50% of our business.
What year was that, Mark?
Overnight. That would have been the late 80s.
Okay.
One of those recessions that we went through back in the day, and I actually had to shut the business down. And I lost everything. I built it up from what was just a mom and pop shop. I think I shared this with you. The first financial statement I looked at had a $54,000 gross income.
Right.
And within a couple of years, I built that up to $1 million. And then I lost everything. My major supplier went bankrupt. Interest rates, I was paying around 14, 15% on $1 million worth of inventory. And it just sucked me dry. And it was a tremendous experience, because I was able to, what I call, close that business down, but stay intact in terms of my values. So I took care of the people that worked for me. I took care of my suppliers and made sure that we wound everything up properly. I ended up without anything at the end of it. But due to that, this was in my 20s, my early 20s, I attracted the attention of a training company that I'd worked with and used out of the States. And the president and owner became a friend, and he sent me a plane ticket and said, "You got to come over and visit with me for a week and tell me how you did this, because we're seeing businesses go bankrupt all over North America, and yet you did it in a unique way." So I ended up, that was kind of my first venture into consulting. That's when I started consulting. And I would have been about 25 at the time. So I was quite a young consultant starting out, and I ended up moving to Orlando, Florida, traveling throughout the Southeast United States and helping business owners at that time to navigate, the rough waters that they were in, both in the marine and recreational vehicle industries. That expanded as I was really just thirsty for knowledge, and kept working with this company out of the States, and got to know a lot of interesting people. Got to know Dr. Michael O'Connor, who kind of was instrumental in bringing the DISC instrument into the business community. So if you know DISC, so I actually worked with Dr. O'Connor and studied directly under him and know him, and started to explore more of the psychological elements of what makes business tick. So everything from the psychology of sales to the psychology of management to the dynamics of family businesses and how they work together, and also what goes on in people's heads when they're solopreneurs. So you can see how these layers added up to my history. I ended up working with a company brought in down in the Republic of Panama. I spent a couple years there. That was back in 2003. And that's where, at the time, I had my marketing consultancy, worked in Panama, and everything we did was virtual. And it was all online. And that just convinced me, after spending a couple years there, when I returned back to North America in 2005, I said, that's it. I'm doing everything online from now on. This is the way the world is going to shift. And that's when I kind of stepped wholeheartedly in full form into the virtual world. And I've been here ever since 2005. So I've been helping businesses. Since then, I had a digital marketing agency. I've moved over the years. That's become more of a consultancy and coaching. And for the last 2 years, I've been basically focused 100% on coaching and helping other solopreneurs primarily. That's who I work with, is people who, are like yourself, and people who work from their homes, typically don't, have an external office space. So all of the, not only all of the benefits that come with that, but all of the mind games that come with working on your own.
Sure. So what made you think you wanted to be a coach's coach, or start working with coaches and consultants that coach and consult other people?
Well, from those early days in my 20s, I was working with business owners. So it was that kind of peer-to-peer work that was going on. So as my businesses over the years developed, I ended up being that person who always worked with like the CEO, the owner, the president, whatever you want to call them, whatever title they happen to have. So it was a natural for me. I was always coaching through that time as I worked with people, whether I was helping them with their finances and trying to get that house in order, or their marketing, or whatever, it was that came out of that.
Sure.
And so there's a real, warm spot in my heart for solopreneurs that are coaches and that are out there trying to serve and help people. I think part of that comes from the training and all of the experience that I've had in the whole psychological realm, is that going deeper, rather than just a mechanical kind of, hey, here's how to go through the process, that really getting in touch with what I call releasing your full potential. So my company name is Release Dynamics, and that is rooted in this concept that we all have a unique story to tell. We all have unique potential that can change our world, can change other people's worlds. And when we release that, when we let that out, that's when the magic happens. So that in particular, coaches to me are probably vibrating at the highest level of what we can do for others on the planet, is that giving, that drawing out, that asking questions, that support, I think is really, really powerful.
Absolutely. So I got your aha moment kind of answered in there. What kind of challenges or failures have you experienced? Like, give me the listeners here at Time to Shine today, they like to hear about the fails and the overcome of the fails. So give us one of the fail that really stands out to you and how you handled that.
Well, I got to go back to that first situation where I lost the business, and really, essentially, for all intents and purposes, it should have been a bankruptcy. Mm-hmm. But I refused that. Now I know, there's a lot of people that are in situations where they say, it's the only way out. But I also really empathize with those people who say, I am not going to have that label. I'm not going to take that on. I'm going to dig deep and I'm going to do whatever it takes. And I think I picked up a lot of wisdom from that fight, to make sure that I actually was able to navigate. And the idea of, I think maybe this comes back to the desire for coaching, is that sense of I'm willing to not only give it all, but give it all up, let go of it all. And I did, so I think that's a big part of it in terms of having that confidence. And I don't even want to call it confidence at the time, but that faith would be a better way to look at it. The faith that, what, I did it once. I can give this all up. I don't need to hoard. I don't need to become this person that gets fear-driven. I can let it all go and start over. And I think that's a huge, huge lesson, is that ability to, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of solopreneurs, and a lot of coaches who struggle, who maybe have come out of a corporate background or have worked for other people, that's that fear that comes up. And when you let that fear wrap you up and encompass you, you get stuck. You get in a situation where you lose your innovation and your creativity. So letting go of that and being open to potential and open to what exists out there that's going to come to you is so, so important. So that's probably that significant event for me. Another one I'd share with you too is during that experience, I also had a near death experience. I was in a severe motor vehicle accident, a severe car crash. I was hit head on, and I spent 5 weeks in the intensive care unit on a respirator with crushed, most of my body crushed. Told I was likely not going to walk again, couldn't breathe on my own. And that as well was another kind of significant emotional event for me, that caused me to climb out and say, no, I am going to walk, and I am going to do what needs to get done here to get my body back in shape and to continue on with life and take on the next challenge.
So what do you think
that answered your question?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely did. So what do you think makes a great coach?
I would say probably the word that comes to mind for me is empathy. And there's another word that kind of goes with that, and that's the ability to detach. So we don't want to become enmeshed or enablers. We don't want to become sympathetic to our clients. But the idea of being able to empathize, in other words, feeling what they're feeling, but being able to step aside from that with that understanding and to help them through to move to the next level.
Allow them maybe to make their own choices while you push the guidance, right?
Yes,
Gotcha.
yes. And also, through that, I'm also a bit of a contrarian. I call myself a hybrid coach. So I'm a coach and a consultant because I'm also not into the idea that all we do is talk and ask questions. I also believe in that when we're working with people, that they deserve to learn from our experience and our wisdom and our trials and tribulations. So I'm a bit of a contrarian there because a lot of coaches come up with that training where, well, you're not allowed to express an opinion or share any ideas. You're just supposed to ask questions. I don't believe in that. I think we need to take a holistic approach. So that's a personal choice of mine that
I love that.
Drawing out, helping people release their full potential, but also helping them skip, helping them jump to the next level, helping them, hey, that 3 years of struggle that I went through, if you can learn from that and avoid all of that, I'm going to give that to you.
Love it.
I think that's a part of the uniqueness that I bring to the table, if you will.
No, it's fantastic. So what is your secret sauce then when you're starting to work with somebody to help them find their blind spot?
The secret sauce that I would say is that people need to realize that competition and comparison are what can kill your innovation and kill your business.
Okay.
So what we need to do is come back to the core of who we are, because it doesn't matter if we're all in the same niche, if you will, or the same industry.
Sure.
What makes our business unique and what we have to offer unique is us. It's our personal history. It's our story.
Okay.
So rather than turning yourself into a commodity and comparing yourself to other people, let that go and realize that what attracts customers and clients to you is you, not your model, not if you're DISC certified, not if you're, have some sort of coaching certification or whatever. That's not what is going to attract.
So how are you finding that blind spot, though, is the question? Is
by spending time and getting people in touch with where they came from. So reviewing their personal history. Talking about what they really, really want. I think the biggest problem that I see most coaches and consultants go into is they become externally driven. In other words, they look for an opportunity in the marketplace and they think that they need to adjust themselves to fit into that opportunity.
Sure.
Versus looking within for the opportunity.
Right.
And then letting that out.
Gotcha.
So it's a reverse of the way most people look at things. So Rich Sheffrin, an old mentor of mine, used to call it the opportunity seeker. The opportunity seeker is always running around, looking under rocks, trying to find that big idea that's going to make them a fortune.
Right.
And that's just, I call it winning the lottery mentality.
Right.
So
basically,
not a lot of success in that, or not a lot
be yourself and basically kind of move forward, being yourself. And you're helping them find that blind spot, getting in touch with their personal history, asking lots of questions, not just listening with your ears, but with your eyes, so their mannerisms and stuff. So, that's
taking a proactive approach, understanding that you have to design it so that you get what you want. So first figuring out what you want, then designing the business that's going to get that for you.
Right. And you're open to
most people go into business and then hope that it gets them what they want. And they end up with a lot of conflict.
So you're going and asking the questions then but you're letting them make their own decisions. That's what separates you from a lot of different coaches where, I've been coached by people that really didn't work out for me too well because they're like, this is the way, the truth, and the life, and this is it. Where the good ones that, like my guy Sam, he actually would have me dig and then pull it forward and then make my own decisions. And he would guide me from there. So that's a lot of what you do, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful.
And here's an example. A client one of my clients that's been with me for a few years, when she first came to me, she said, I've been working with a coach for a couple of years and I'm just struggling in my business. And he's got me writing these things down and I got to commit to a minimum of, 100 cold calls a week and everything else. And I'm going, well, how do you feel about that? Is that something you really love to do? Do you love to cold call? No. Have you ever done the 100 a week? No. Well, why don't we find a different way that works for you?
To drum that business up, right?
Yeah, because there isn't one set way. You've got to find something that fits into your personality and your strengths, and then work with that.
Love it. So, Mark, let's get in our DeLorean here with Marty McFly, and let's go back to the 22-year-old Mark Kanty. And with the knowledge nuggets you have now, what kind of knowledge nuggets would you be able to drop on that, Mark?
I was a pretty aggressive, self-centered young man.
Okay.
So I would say lighten up.
Okay, like it.
Being a workaholic is not the solution, and often, the more hours you work is not going to give you the results. You need to figure out how to do what you need to do in less time and be more balanced.
Right. It sounds like you should be more empathetic too. I was that guy when I was 22.
Appreciate the relationships that you have, and take time to nurture those and be with those. So those would be some of the things that I would say. Yeah.
So what do you think most people misunderstand about Mark the most?
Oh boy, you're really going deep here.
You were warned.
Yeah.
It's time to shine today, baby. Our listeners love this. I did.
I would say probably that because of my training and over the years, like we have the voice, we have we know how to project, we know how to be confident. But the thing that I think all of us have, myself included, is those fears, those challenges, those issues, those self-doubts that we all do as human beings.
Absolutely.
So I think, we look to a lot of people who are in a leadership position, who are come across as dominant and strong. Well, you know what? We all have those.
A lot of times.
Yeah, we all have that little boy within us. We all have those things that still come back to haunt us, perhaps. We all have those fears. We all have those moments of self-doubt. So I think that's probably a big thing is that, that ability to understand that we're all human and we're having a human experience here. Yeah.
So when you start working with a prospect and possibly seeing if they're a right fit to turn into a client for Release Dynamics, is there any good question that you wish they would ask you but never do?
Oh, Scott, that's another great one. I would say that probably the best question that somebody needs to ask, and particularly when we're talking about coaches and consultants, is how do I design this business? And then how do I manage my numbers in terms of knowing ROI? So realizing that where are the best places to invest and how much do I need to invest? Nice. It amazes me how many people, again, have this lottery mentality that come to me and go, well, I'm not investing anything. I don't want to invest anything. I will invest once I make some money. Mm-hmm. So what I often say to them is I say, well, why don't you go first thing before we even talk further, why don't you go down to the bank and say, I want you guys to give me interest. Here's the interest that I want. You put that in your savings account for me. And then once all that interest is accumulated, then I'll put money into the bank account.
Love it.
Now that may seem absolutely ridiculous, but it's true. It's the way the vast majority
in front of the horse kind of thing instead.
It's cart before the horse. It's, give me the. You've heard the story, the old Earl Nightingale story about the old man sitting in front of the wood stove and he's freezing to death and he's got a pile of wood and he's yelling at the stove, "Give me some heat, and I'll give you some wood." And yet that's the way the vast majority of people go about business.
Absolutely.
When they're a small business. Yeah.
So here at Time to Shine today, we talk about the dash a lot. And so I'm just wondering how you want your dash remembered, that little thing in between your life date and death date. What's your epitaph say? What is that dash? How do you want that dash, Mark Kanty's dash, to be remembered?
Whoosh. I don't know how you spell that.
Whoosh. I love it. I just got that. First, it's funny because I told Mark earlier that I'm on a different camera, so I can really see us without looking like I'm looking way over. So I get it now. I love it. I love it. But I think yours is just going to be a total go-giver, someone that listens, that's not ego-driven, that maybe was when they was younger, but evolved. And I think that's just great for you. Mark, what is your definition of a life well lived then?
I would say experiencing, this is probably going to, and I'm going to kind of quote an old mentor of mine, but I'm not going to do it properly. I'm sure I've forgotten it, but experiencing the moment and each person in the moment.
Wow, that's nice. So experience the moment in each person in the moment. So really be mindful.
Yeah.
Right? Love that. Yeah. Mark, that is strong, man. I'm writing this down. Experience the moment and the people in the moment. That's great. Awesome. So we're going to, as we wind things down a little bit, we move into our level up lightning round. So you and I could have 15, 20-minute conversations on each one of these questions.
I'm sure we could.
But you got 5 seconds. I want what's at the top of your head. They're super easy questions to answer, but just rip them off. You ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. What's the best leveling up advice you've ever received?
Invest in yourself.
Love it. And that's so perfect for what he just told about the cart before the horse. That's beautiful. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
Morning health rituals, taking care of the body and the mind. So exercise, nutrition, and meditation in the morning. First thing. Start every day. Good for you.
And not what you're reading now or the flavor of the month that everybody else is reading or recommending you read. What's your go-to book if someone was to come to you and say, Mark, what book really hit home with you? Like mine is like Andy Andrews' A Traveler's Gift or Viktor Frankl's A Man's Search for Purpose or Man's Search for Meaning. What is that book for you?
Boy, I'm an insatiable reader, and you might have stumped me there. Some pretty obscure stuff too that I'm into. I gotta say, I think I can split that into two. I'll have to split that. Sorry, I know this is a 5-second round.
No,
when it comes,
what's
when
the two books?
To business,
without description, what are the two books?
Okay. I would say it's a workbook, a booklet called The Hidden Obstacles to Your Success.
Okay.
That was written by Rich Schefren.
Okay.
And on a personal level, am I allowed to look at my library?
Sure.
You got me. You got me, man.
It's all good. We'll go with that.
I think, you know what? No, on a personal level, again, another book would be The E-Myth, Michael Gerber.
Yeah, I have it sitting right over here in mine.
I've got that dog-eared, so falling apart, multiple copies of it.
Love it.
I'm kind of in business mindset right now, so I'm trying to think of personal fiction. I mean, taking time to read fiction.
Love it. What's your favorite charity and or organization that you like to support?
Habitat for Humanity.
Beautiful. The Beatles, Rolling Stones, or Beach Boys?
Beatles.
Love it. What age would you be for the rest of your life, if you could be?
35.
Oh, me too, actually. I'd always say 34, right in that time frame. Okay, last, you kind of answered it with one of my questions, but what is the best decade of music? 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
Oh, I got to say I think the 70s.
There you go. Love it. Love it.
To the early 70s, yeah.
I love it. So how can we find you, Mark?
You can find me in a couple of different ways. You can, if you just want to check out what I'm up to, you can check out Release Dynamics, RELEASE Dynamics, DYN Dynamics, AMICS.
It'll all be in the show notes, folks.
Yeah.
So
.net. My old company was .com. I still have that, but know that that's not really that active anymore.
Gotcha.
So releasedynamics.net is my website. You can reach out to me, send me an email. Mark@releasedynamics.com is the email. Find me on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Mark Kanty, MarkKanty.
Gotta love it. And love it. Mark, leave us with one last knowledge nugget that you want the Time to Shine Today Varsity Squad to internalize, take with them, and take action on?
One nugget would be realize that you can be in different states at different times. And there's kind of two major states. One is the excitatory state. Don't get that confused with being excited. Mm-hmm. And the other is the inhibitory state. And what the excitatory state is all about is being ready. It's being ready for opportunity. It's being ready for potential. So when you find yourself slipping into the inhibitory state, that's when mm-hmm. you have fear. That's when you start to contract. Recognize that all you need to do is pause and remember a moment in time when you had some level of success or achievement. It could be something as simple as making a great sandwich.
Love it.
Get your mind into that space, because that's what it means to be in the excitatory state or the ready state. If so you pause and really give yourself a moment to do that, then you'll be able to move from there. And then ask yourself, when you're in that state, what's the first thing I need to do? What's the first step I need to take?
Love that. Love it. So we're going to pause and remember that moment that really you leveled up before and pull that forward. And Mark, it's been so fantastic having you on. I really picked up some knowledge nuggets here about being, empathetic, and also being able to detach and really have your clients make their decisions, but push them and guide them to their decisions and make it their own decision, but with the guidance of you. That's fantastic. And you're not mechanical. You're always going deeper. You're experiencing the moment of the people that are in your moment. So you're being mindful and not mindful. You're being mindful of every situation that you're in. And if you're going to go for something, sometimes you just have to give it all up, give it the faith, back that faith with the persistence that doesn't recognize failure. And if you're a coach, or you're a consultant, or if you're just a business owner, not just a business, if you are a business owner, Mark is a fantastic resource. He's humble, yet he's hungry. He levels up his health. He levels up his wealth. And Mark, you're part of our squad now. And thank you so much for coming on, my friend.
Hey, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity, Scott. It's always a pleasure to share, and just always a pleasure to connect with you as well. So
awesome, my friend. Thanks
keep
again.
Keep shining, man. Keep shining.
Love it.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Time to Shine Today podcast. Proudly brought to you by Sutter & Nugent Real Estate Excellence, who can be reached at 561-249-7266 and online at www.sutterandnugent.com. If you're a business owner or professional who would like to be interviewed on Time to Shine Today, please visit timetoshinetoday.com/guest. If you like this episode, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. There's a link in the show notes to our website. Also there, you will see our recommended resources. We hope that you will support our show by supporting them. If you like what you've been listening to, it'd be great if you could just give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe while you're at it. I'm your host, Scott Ferguson, and until next time, let's level up. It's our time to shine.